Hi everyone, this is future Kaitlyn here. I'll return you to past Kaitlyn in a sec, but I just wanted to let you know this video is now part of the Whitman Archive video series that they've been doing. I worked on some stuff with them earlier in this year, and it's really exciting that they wanted to use this video for their series because it's a really great resource. The Whitman Archive has every edition of Leaves of Grass free and available to the public so that you can look up the changes between the editions and his manuscripts. You can read articles about him and his life, literary criticism, you can look up photos of him. There's all sorts of resources on the Whitman Archive, and I think it's a really great project that they've been working on, and I'm really proud to be a part of it. So if you want to look at more information about Whitman, just go to www.whitmanarchive.org and just check it out. It's a really great resource. Now that that's out of the way, I'll take you to my video. Hey, past Kaitlyn, what are we talking about today? Alright, literature enthusiasts and students cramming for tomorrow's quiz alike, it's time to talk about Walt Whitman. So whoever you are, you probably already know something about Whitman. I mean, either you've heard someone random shouting, "Oh, Captain, my Captain," or seen really good movies that happen to quote that. I don't have a particular preference. The point is, the dude's kind of famous. He basically invented American free verse poetry, and he's known for "Oh, Captain, my Captain," and also poems like "Crossing Brooklyn Ferry," and "A Song of Myself," which presumably is the reason you're watching this video in the first place. He lived around the time of the Civil War. It happened like smack dab in the middle of his life, and it really messed the dude up. Like, he went volunteering in hospitals and things and wrote tons of war poetry that made its way into Leaves of Grass, which, speaking of Leaves of Grass, we're going to talk about that now. There are 7 different editions of Leaves of Grass, and I'm not talking like the same book published 7 times. I'm talking about 7 different books called Leaves of Grass that he just kept adding to and rewriting and doing all sorts of new work on. So it's kind of hard to find a definitive edition that people think is the one true Whitman or whatever, because it gets changed a lot. Now, scholars generally use the 1891 edition, which is the deathbed edition. It was the last one he published. I'm serious when I say that this dude would have written Leaves of Grass through his grave if he could have. But anyway, that's the one you're probably using, and that's one I'm going to be using when I do my summary. Hopefully that'll work for everyone. If you want to look at the older editions, check out whitmanarchive.org. It's got a lot of really great resources, and you can see all of the poems from all of the different editions and how it's changed over the years. It's a really cool thing to do if you've got some spare time. So now I'm going to go into my summary, but I don't think I'm appropriately dressed for it, so give me one sec. Movie magic. I'm gonna go through this section by section. You should have Song of Myself open next to you so that you can be reading along as we go through, because this is gonna be utterly ridiculous and I don't know how to make sense of it otherwise. So without further ado, Song of Myself. Hi, I'm Whitman, and this is about me. Except psych, it's about everyone ever. Sure is sexy? I don't know, I'm just trying to introduce you to the universe. You should hang out. Life is eternal, and that's weird. All the stuff you think makes up me doesn't. The soul is important, and everything is connected. Also, I just had sex with you. You're tired of this section already, and you haven't even read it yet. It's just been quoted at you so much that you're already sick of it, but the point is that nothing ever really dies. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Everything is great. I love you all no matter who you are or what you've done. Let's get naked. Crowds are really diverse, and it's very distracting. Now I'm pretending I'm a cowboy. Ah, nature. Now I'm an adventurer. Also, I help runaway slaves, because I'm badass like that. Metaphor? Sexy metaphor? Man, I like workmen. Despite what you may have heard, people of color are awesome, and... is that a duck? God, nature is cool. I love nature. Also, I'm pretty easygoing if I do say so myself. Now I'm going to list some people. All of the people. They're American. There's also Wolverine and prostitutes. I represent everyone. So seriously, I represent everyone. I really hope you can identify with this somewhere, because otherwise there's really no point in doing any of this. Now I'm going to sing a song called "I'm Sorry You're Dead, But You Did a Good Job." Hey, just so you know, everyone is invited to my party, but I'm only going to talk to you the whole time because I like you the best. No, I am what I am. And what I am is existential crisis and atheism. Feminism. Also, this is the part where I admit that I would totally bitch slap the president, just like I would bitch slap anyone else, because let's face it, all of us need a good bitch slap every once in a while. Hey, so I'm going to talk about good and evil, and we're all going to pretend that I didn't have sex with the beach just now. Science. Democracy. And now for something completely different. Would you like to sniff my armpit so I can explain to you how wonderful and natural our bodies are? Talking is hard. Time to listen to everything ever. I like touching. I don't like touching. Touching is very, very bad. Okay, now I'm not sure. I've got really mixed feelings on this. Speaking of feelings, did you know feelings tell the truth of things more than reason? It's not the size of the thing that matters, it's the tangible connection to a natural world that's always been a part of who we are. Humans are complicated. I'm gonna go hang with some horses. I go everywhere and am everyone, and I'm also really gay. Also, I banged your wife. Also, I am your wife. Also, slavery is bad and stuff. Yeah, remember how I said slavery is bad and stuff? Well, war is also bad and stuff. Can we stop massacring prisoners now, please? Well, that was very serious. Now I'm going to tell you an old-timey sea shanty told to me by my great-grandfather. It's a battle with pirates! Not actually with pirates, it's with the English. I just thought pirates sounded more interesting. We win this illustrious battle, but we sink, but we're really brave doing it. And then everyone was dead. Now I'm being all the people whose lives suck. I almost forgot to be everyone everywhere there for a second. That was weird. I'm cool now, let's go. You know, savages are actually pretty cool and can come from pretty much anywhere. I could be a savage. You could be a savage. The Canadians could be savages, those damn Canadians. I can't define people, but I can impregnate them. And also, like, protect them and genuinely look out for their well-being and make sure they're safe and happy and all of that jazz, but impregnate too. I am God and so are you. I like to hang out in crowds just like you do. Also, have you ever thought about how much cooler people are than their stuff? Except for this stuff. This stuff is pretty cool. So who wants to be a part of my religion? Because we just sort of absorbed all of the other religions, and now we just celebrate and pray by drinking booze out of skulls and having rock fetishes and penis parades, and generally it's pretty cool. And in the year 6891, I'm gonna return from the grave and kick your ass with democracy. At this point, you're probably pretty confused, so let me clarify for you. Nothing is knowable, everything is equal, and I was destined to be here. I hope this helped. My penis is erect and my lovers are hot. I think you know what that means. Serious conversations about the eternity of time. Let's go hiking together on the road of life. But listen, I'm gonna be helpful, but not like too helpful. You have to do some of this shit yourself sometime. Alright folks, it's time for you to be even more awesome than I am. I know it's hard, but I have faith that you can do it. I'm gonna stalk you so hard later. Well, I care about God. God is in everything. God is in you. God is in me. God is in this shoe. I'm on to your divine mind games, mister. No, what? Death? Screw you! Come at me! Let's do this! I cannot for the life of me remember that word for that thing that's in me. Yo, are you paying attention? I'm busy being a complex human being over here. But listen, let's hang out and stuff. I think you're cool and I want to hear what you have to say. Yeah, okay. I'm wild. And maybe I am dead, so what? I'll always be here for you. Whenever you need me, I'm there. YAWP. So, that was fun. So, here are some important themes you need to know about Leaves of Grass. You probably got this unless you somehow missed all the cataloging and everything, but Whitman is way into democracy. He kind of wanted to represent, like, everyone ever in his poetry. I mean, he kind of wanted to be the next, like, American poet laureate or something. He wanted to be the poet of America for everyone, pretty much ever. Why he had all those big long lists and everything. He was basically trying to describe and encapsulate every kind of person in America that he could think of. And by today's standards, he may not have done so well, but for his time, that was a lot of cataloging to do. Now, remember where I said Whitman was alive when the Civil War was happening? This is where that becomes important. All of America at that point was split into two different sides, and Whitman was trying to heal that wound, to bring America back together, and to represent it all as one unified whole, and something beautiful that could be celebrated rather than something destroyed by all of this strife. Quick note from future Kaitlyn. So someone pointed out to me that Whitman actually wrote Song of Myself before the Civil War, which is a good point. However, because he was still writing about all of America, and because America was really divided on many issues even before it was formally divided in the Civil War, I think it's still important, especially because he revised the poem through many, many years, even past the Civil War. That's all I've got to say. Back to past Kaitlyn. There's all that talk about brotherhood in there. All of the times where Whitman is lifting you up, or holding you, or helping you, or even when he talks about war and how terrible it is, all of that comes back to his experiences firsthand dealing with the trauma of the Civil War. Now, another thing you might have noticed in Whitman's poetry is nature. He really, really loved nature, and he loved the thought that we are a part of nature, that our physical bodies and the things that we do are not unnatural things. They're not separate from nature in the way that we pretend to be when we build cities. Now, don't get me wrong, Whitman loved cities. He used to walk around Manhattan and loved seeing the crowds because he loved the diversity of people that got brought together in this one little space. But he also thought it was really important for us to realize that being in those places does not mean that we're not natural beings. Now, I made fun of this a lot, but that's why Whitman talks about sex so much. He thinks that it's a natural human response that was intended for us to experience and that it's okay for us to express. It's not something taboo, it's just part of our nature. Whitman loved the authentic, the real, not the artificial, the things that we project or the ways that we pretend to be separate from the natural world. Everything we do is part of the natural world, and that's beautiful, and he thinks it's really great. Whether you live in the city or in the frontier, he thinks it's a really cool place to be and that you're a really cool person, which I think is kind of neat. Now, I've always read Whitman's poetry as an attempt to get back to the simple and beautiful things about life. The beauty in ourselves and in others, in our interactions with one another, in nature, in the way that we interact with nature. All of these things that are part of the world that he just thought were something really remarkable and that he wanted to bring to the forefront of the American imagination. Now, as you saw, some of those ideas that Whitman had don't mesh super well with organized religion. He, for example, thought that people were just as important as any god that you could imagine, because people are great and beautiful and wonderful things, and to devalue them in any way was just absolutely abhorrent to Whitman. That's why you hear that whole section about religion and about how he thinks that religion is fine, but that there are some problems that he has with it. Now, if you're just a tired student studying for a quiz, this is about the point where I expect you're about to tune out, but stay and listen for just a second. I'm just going to real quick tell you why this is important, and then I'll let you go. Firstly, I know I didn't talk about this a lot, but you may have noticed that all of Whitman's poetry is in free verse. Now, today that's not all that much of a remarkable thing. Most of our poetry is in free verse because rhyming poems sound a little archaic to us at this point. But Whitman was one of the first people to do this, to write in free verse. It was kind of an unknown thing at the time, and people were kind of like, what? How is this art? This can't be art. It's in not rhyming couplets and things. I don't understand. So, Whitman was basically America's first free verse poet, and this isn't something to be, overlooked. If you write in free verse, or if you've ever read free verse poetry, you probably owe it to Whitman, at least in America. Other thing that's really important about Whitman's work is that it was essentially American. He was trying to create an American identity and an American voice out of the shambles of a kind of disintegrated country. America was not in good shape after the Civil War, and yet Whitman still believed in it, still believed that we could come together and make something beautiful, and that we could have a literary voice that would be essentially American and identifiable as American, despite the sort of shambles that the country was in. Whitman spent his whole life working on this book, not just because he wanted to represent everyone in his time, but he wanted to represent you in the future. He wanted to be able to talk to you and still be relevant hundreds of years after his death. And luckily he was revolutionary enough that he is. We're still talking about him. You're watching this video. And he's speaking to you from the past, and he wants you to know that he thinks you're pretty cool. And really, that's all that Whitman's poetry comes down to. He thinks we're all pretty cool. So hopefully by now you've got a little bit of a better understanding of what Whitman was trying to do. Song of Myself is a really, really long poem, and Whitman's language is a little bit dense, and I know it can be hard to get through, so hopefully this helps make it a little more memorable and makes your studying a little easier. So that's it from me for today. I've been Kaitlyn, you've been awesome, happy reading. This is the end screen, where we tell you to subscribe to the thing if you like the thing, and like the thing if you like the thing, and if you want to see more of this in the future, put your request down in the comments. Maybe I'll do it in the future.